Welcome in, folks, for our special New Year's episode of What's Bruin. How is everyone doing tonight? Gayle, are you excited for the show?
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this one.
Unfortunately, the Bruins maintained their losing ways and weren't able to pull out a win again last night.
Not
Where
for
are
out
you at?
trying, too. I mean, they dominated the overtime. They just couldn't get it done. You know,
I mean, they gifted it to them.
Shorthanded, they,
I mean,
unfortunately.
too many penalties is still a theme.
It's a huge theme.
But, I mean, overall, it was a boring game last night overall. It was not fun. It was a slog fest. But, yeah, they literally had to give that win away.
Yeah.
In
It was not a good win at all. A good game at all. I mean, if you look at it, the shots were 26-20. Like,
yeah.
26-20. That's not a good game.
It's also not enough. This team needs to shoot more on net in order to get any kind of success, because that's what we were seeing them. I know this is Kenny from his Isles account, John Beecher curse.
That's why I was like, wrong account. I'm like, who is it? Like, what? Who's giving us the wrong account?
It's Kenny from the Isles and the Sound Twitter account. So shout out Kenny on that account. But no, he's right. It's kind of funny that it was against John Beecher. At one point I looked and John Beecher had won his face-off. I was pretty surprised to see that. But yeah, see, there he is.
Hey, there's Kenny.
But as you mentioned, we have an exciting show to go over some year-end awards. This is calendar year. I don't know. You got anything to add to that description?
Yeah, so it's literally January 1st, 2024 to now, 2025. I mean, January 1st, 2025 to now, not 24. So it is the calendar year. So it encapsulates last season and this season thus far.
Yeah, so instead of season over season.
Yes, Dom. Kenny does need a slap.
Hopefully we leave all the slaps in 2025, though.
With us, probably not.
Probably not. No. Do we want to jump right into the awards, or do you want to go over anything else in these last couple games? Just because the last couple games have not been great coming out of the break. There's only been 2 of them, though, so there's not a lot to go over.
No, but when you win this in 6, I mean, it's matching the worst streak they've had. So, and now they're going into Edmonton to face an Edmonton team that has been a little bit better since swapping goaltenders with Pittsburgh. And you always have to worry about McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened last time with McDavid, how he was able to just, take a moment of the game and change the entire outcome of it. But at the same time, if they lose to Edmonton, are you really going to be all that surprised, especially given how they've been playing as of late? I wouldn't be.
No, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be more surprised if they come away with a win.
Yeah. I mean, as surprised as I would be, I also wouldn't be, because, like you said, they're winless in 6. At some point, they're going to figure it out, and they're going to get that win. If they go with Tristan Jarry in net for Edmonton, it's a goaltender they're familiar with. So it's, I can see both outcomes. I'm more worried about how are they going to play during the game.
Right.
Kenny says, not properly prepared for the show equals slap. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time.
Right.
So, but no, I mean, even in Buffalo, they were taking bad penalties. I mean, which game was it? Was it it was the Buffalo game where they had the challenges that just did. Montgomery challenged basically the wrong goal kind of thing. Was that Buffalo, or was that before the break?
Montgomery?
Not Montgomery, Sturm. Sorry, I was looking at last year's roster before we came on here, and Montgomery was on my brain because of something we're going to talk about in a little bit.
I think I don't remember. Was it the Ottawa game? I don't remember. I can't even. They're all the losses are kind of lumping together for me.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is they're playing like shit in all of them. Yeah. I wasn't really all that surprised to see Korpisalo get the net against Buffalo just to give him a game for the first time in a while. I would have thought they would have tried to come out with Swayman, kind of try to reestablish something. But, I mean, at this point, I don't think – not that there's been a pattern at all during the season to how they use their goaltenders. I'm not
there's
really surprised at this
no
point.
Rhyme or reason to how they're using their goaltenders. None whatsoever.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not surprised when I see Swayman in net or Korpisalo in net. I go, well, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, you're trying to get something going, but at the same time, Swayman is the guy. You need to ride him. So, like, every game, there's justification to play him because you're trying to get him going. Plus, you know, as Sturm said, he's the one who gives you the best chance to win every night.
Right.
Did you have anything else before we jump into the awards? I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about with these awards and everything anyway.
No. I'll let you run with it.
Oh, I was going to see if there was an award that you wanted to start with.
No, I think that
since it was your idea and all.
Let's start with the one that I added last.
Okay.
Which was the best front office move. And this has nothing to do with players. This has to do with coaching, staffing, contracts of the front office, you know. And again, it's the calendar year. The calendar year. So mine, the best move was officially bringing Chara into the fold as a consultant or whatever his title is.
I mean,
that's mine.
I don't blame you for that one. That one's definitely up there, but I would think the coaching decision of hiring Marco Sturm has to be number one for me. You know, right ahead of firing Jim Montgomery. Things weren't going well for Montgomery.
Well, you can't count Jim Montgomery. That's not the calendar year. He was fired in November.
But that's what I mean. Is like things weren't going well under that regime. You fired him, moved on to Sacco, and you very easily could have just kept that going.
Yep.
But instead, you made the decision, as you know, we've talked about it before.
But I'm not willing to give Sturm the 100% yet because he hasn't even gone a full season.
The reason why I'm giving it that stamp right now for this calendar year is because it established a new direction for the franchise. It was part of them putting in the past the things that were in the past. Mm-hmm. You know, it kind of was the culmination of the trading of Coyle, the trading of Marchand, the trading of Carlo, and moving out that old guard, if you will, and completely transitioning it to a new reset across the board.
Well, that's why I selected the Chara move, because I think he brings more culture to the table than Sturm does, since he was the one that started the culture.
I mean, they were both part of that. I'm just going to put that right down there. Give our little votes here, so we can get some comments on this one here.
Well, no, but we're not talking players yet.
Yep, we're not there yet.
This is strictly coaching, staffing, front office moves. That has nothing to do with players. But no, so Sturm was there. Sturm was there before Chara.
So he was, but he was still part of that and part of that mold and part of what they started.
But it was Chara that came in. It was Chara that came in with his captaincy that completely changed that culture. Yes, Sturm jumped on the bandwagon. You have
Dom says, I think if you go with Sturm, then you have to go with Sweeney for bringing him in. I agree. He's agreeing with you that it was that bringing in Chara. I mean, don't get me wrong. Neither one are bad choices, at least in
no,
my opinion.
and I don't hate Sturm, and I don't hate that hire. I'm still waiting for how he's going to get this team out of the slump that they're in. Now this is the second time they've been in this type of a slump. And, last time it was guys got to get on the bus. They get, you know what I mean? So how do you turn it around?
Let me ask you this, though. Are they in this kind of slump because of Marco as the coach or because of the roster that Sweeney has provided the new coach in his first year?
No, because this roster has proven that they can win. This roster has proven that when they stay out of the penalty box is a formidable opponent against anyone. One of the only 2 teams to beat Colorado in regulation.
Yeah, but knowing the roster, the way that Sturm wants this team to play, knowing the assembled roster,
I have no issues with this roster. I've told you that from get-go. If this roster stays
not good
healthy,
enough.
but I disagree with you because when they are healthy and they are building that chemistry, they're one of the top teams in the league.
When they're healthy, they're still a top 6 scorer away from being good enough. So, and that's when they're healthy. They're still building their depth, and that's why I go with Sturm as the hire here. It establishes a new direction, regardless of
Dude, what's wrong with you? Your voice is going all wonky. Now I can't hear you at all.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My audio.
Yeah, you don't sound like you're in a tunnel anymore either.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing if there's anything else that might be trying to steal my audio. But no, with it establishes that new direction throughout the entire organization. That's why. And Chara is going to be part of that in the front office. Don't get me wrong. But the hiring of Sturm gave every single player, both in the NHL and in the AHL, a fresh start with fresh coaching eyes. And that's what this roster needed more than anything. Ernie, I think 5 good players away is a little bit of a stretch. They need a real high-end top scorer to match and complement the top 6, and they need to build out more depth, especially on the right side of their blue line. They're not that many pieces away. But I don't hate the pick. Dom says can't go Sturm. He took away Sens' decision making on who starts, and I have many questions about how they use their goalies. I'm going to trust Dom on this statement here where he says he's taken away Bob Sens' decision on who's starting just because he's Dom, and I've got no reason to doubt him on that. But is that something that we know?
Well, I think Montgomery put all of his faith in goalie Bob and said, basically, you make the decision. And Sacco kind of ran with that, where Sturm is a lot more vocal about who he wants in net and why he wants them in net. So he may not have 100% taken away the decision, but he definitely has final say, where there's definitely not that same trust. And it could be that Marco just needs to build that trust with him.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Asenza was the goaltending coach the last time Marco was in town. So
it doesn't matter, though. Was he the
still
goaltender?
Needs to be...
Wait, he wasn't the goaltender.
No, right. I know, but Asenza's been around that long, and it is kind of funny. But yeah, no, to your point, there needs to be some sort of rapport established between goalie Bob and Sturm and the goaltenders too. So,
but not only that, there has to be. He has rapport with Chris Kelly because they played together, but he's got to build that bond with Jay Leach. You know what I mean? So I mean, and it's different when you're a player versus when you're the head coach. So regardless, I mean, he already has a good bonding relationship with Chara. Doesn't mean he's going to listen to Chara on the defenseman. He's the coach, and Chara is not a coach. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different things there. And I think also Sturm is really relying on his own decision making for who gets called up versus where Sweeney was making the decision last year. I think they're giving Sturm a little bit more leeway.
Yeah. And we'll see how that ends up, because he's still learning as an NHL head coach. You know, he's been an AHL head coach before, but the NHL, AHL, very different. So, you know, I think we're going to see some more of that level off as far as some delegation from him at some point. But I do think in his first year, he's getting a little of that extra leeway, a little of that extra control, and he's learning kind of where some of those limitations might come from.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this year was going to be that kind of year anyway. As much as they want to compete, as much as they want to try and get into the playoffs, you know, we talk about them taking a step back for a year. That's what this year essentially was going to be anyway, because they couldn't go out and get a Mitch Marner type player.
If you look at their division, it has been so flippy floppy that this time in 2 weeks from now, they could be in first place again.
But coming into the year, you were not looking at the division.
You weren't. I wasn't. You weren't. My perception of this team was a lot different than a lot of people's, because I looked at each player and what they brought to the table. And that's why I think that I've from day one have said, when I saw that roster, I was like, okay, if they all gel, if they can do this, if they can do that. Arvidsson has been in and out of the lineup. That's part of that problem with that. Plus, not to mention Middlestat, so they can't get that chemistry going on that line. But when you have David Pastrnak, who comes back from an injury and all of a sudden is feeding the puck to Fraser Mitten, I mean, you just don't. I don't think that people are given the injuries that they've had, especially on the back end. Yeah, are they going to win a Stanley Cup this year? Absolutely not. Because can they make the playoffs and win the first round? Yes, they can.
Yeah, but even I was saying at the beginning of the year, I said that they can make the playoffs, that they're going to be on the bubble. I think they get in. I said that at the beginning of the year. But looking at this run, you mentioned injuries to Arvidsson. That's not news to anyone. He hasn't played over 60 or 70 games in 4 of the last 5 seasons. So for Arvidsson to miss time, that should have been expected.
But it's not just Arvidsson. Hampus Lindholm missed time. Charlie McAvoy missed time. David Pastrnak missed time. It's not like there's one player. It's not like last year where your whole back end was depleted for the entire season, and then your captain missed half the season. This is completely different. They have younger players that are stepping up and showing that they can fill the role when they need to. And that was something they lacked last year.
They have some young players who are stepping in and playing at a good enough, serviceable level, but they're not taking it to that level that they need to in order to keep the team competitive. Otherwise, this team would still be in a top 3 spot in the division. Murat Husnudinov is not scoring the way that he needs to maintain, you know, a top 6 spot when there's an injury to a Victor Arvidsson. That's not who he is as a player. He brings speed, he brings physicality, he brings a great forecheck, he brings a lot of great things, but scoring isn't one of them. And this team, which we have said from day one is going to be difficult in finding scoring, is finding it difficult to score right now. Like, that was part of why they just got one against the Calgary Flames. They couldn't find a second goal against Calgary Flames. Scoring is a problem for this team, and it has been since day one. Yes, if they're playing to their maximum capacity, their ceiling, and everyone's healthy, yes, they are a hard out in a playoff matchup. Absolutely. They got to get there first.
It's not even the Olympic break yet. I'm not ready to write this team off.
I didn't say I was writing them off.
You sound like it.
No,
you 100% sound like it.
No, what I have said from day one is they will be fighting for a playoff spot when the season is coming to the end.
No one had this division being as tight as it is.
No, because no one
saw Toronto being the bottom of the barrel.
No one saw the injuries that Toronto's going through. No one saw the injuries coming to both Barkov
but
and
even when Toronto's healthy, they weren't getting it done.
No, they're falling apart. No one saw that coming. No one saw the injuries to Barkov and Tkachuk in Florida. No one saw the slow start to Tampa Bay's season. Buffalo is now getting back in the mix, which, you know, everyone saw the firing of Kevin Adams coming a mile away, but no one saw them going on an 8-game heater the way they have, or 9 games now. They've won 9 in a row to get back into it. Like, there's a lot of things that, you know, Ottawa is one of the better teams, and they're still not where they could be because they've struggled in goal all season long.
And now they've lost Allmark for an extended period of time for personal reasons.
But the struggles aren't exclusive to Linus Ullmark. He was actually starting to get better for them. He was starting to come around for him, and now this. So, you know, there's a lot of things that you haven't been able to foresee in this division that have fallen the Bruins' way, but you're still not in a top 3 spot. So, anyway. Best front office decision, you say it was bringing in Zdeno Chara. One of the things that I do like about that move is because of his flexibility in the role, he will have some time where he's able to work with fellow former player Adam McQuaid in player development. He will have his hands on that. I do like the fact that he will have his hands all over players at different levels of the organization and their development.
Yeah.
And I think long run, that move will be way more beneficial because it'll outlast any coach that they brought in.
Yep.
But right now, for this calendar year, they're benefiting the most because they made that direction shift in hiring a new coach.
Chara was on his way back into the fold long before they decided to fire Montgomery, before they decided to not hire Sacco, and long before they hired Sturm. Chara's name was always in the mix there because the fact that he had been at Warrior for so long, doing so many different things, it was just unofficial. Now it's official.
Yeah, he's been, I mean, his name has been thrown in the conversation ever since he moved on to the Washington Capitals. It was just a matter of time, essentially, before he came back. So Karen wants to know if anyone knows how long Ullmark is going to be gone for. And because it's personal reasons, I don't think we really know much of what's going on there.
No, the team announced it, they just said a leave of absence. They didn't say anything about a time frame, nothing.
So it could be a family matter back home. It could be a family matter here, I'd say in the States, but it would be Canada for him now. Who really knows what's going on? And you know, as much as we all want to know, because Bruins fans want to support Linus, you know, he's always been a fan favorite around here. You know, he'll tell people when he's ready. So anyway, in keeping with the theme, we had some comments brought in there. Keeping in the front office theme, let's move on to the 2025 best acquisition that this team made.
Okay, so mine, it's the best acquisition trade is trading Brandon Carlo for Fraser Minton, the pick who became, I can't remember now, is it Zellers? I don't want to forget.
No.
Dom, we always forget.
Oh, I got to go back and look at the draft results from it.
Fraser Minton.
I know who you're thinking of too, and the name escapes me. It ended up being Vasek Blanar.
That's right.
So yeah, Blanar and Minton being brought in for Brandon Carlo. Yeah, I don't think you're going to get any argument from me on that one.
That's my favorite move that Sweeney made.
Yeah, it's just looking how Carlo's play has completely fallen off. People were not entirely thrilled when he was still here. I would take a leave of absence if I had to play for Ottawa too. I mean, they were in the playoffs last year. So, I mean, Ottawa is one of the better teams that you could be on right now if you're going to be in the East. So they,
And if I had to pick between Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, I'd rather play with Brady.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. Can't say I disagree with that thought right there. But no, I don't even know. I mean, the only other one that may in the future hold a candle is bringing in Zellers for Coyle in that trade. But even then, the only way you got Zellers was because you had to take on Casey Middlestat, and we still need to see where the rest of that tree goes for that deal to be complete. I don't think it's done yet. So given the fact that it was, and also they made the choice, they wanted Fraser Minton instead of Easton Cowan. So this was them going in and saying, this is the player we want, and we're willing to take a lower draft pick to do it, because obviously if they had taken...
And retaining part of Carlos' salary. It's not like they didn't take that either.
Yep, they're retaining a little bit of Carlos' salary, which is a very eatable amount. They didn't overextend themselves on how much they were going to take on and keep on. And then just seeing how Carlo has fared in Toronto, I mean, they're ready to move on from him.
Well, that's because I'm not gonna make this show about.
Yes, Dom. Liam Pettersson in that trade with Coyle as well. Like I said, that trade's not done. We got to see where Pettersson comes into play. We got to see how Zellers. I mean, they could look at a move this year and end up flipping Zellers. Like, who really knows where they go with it? We need to see how that one all plays out. But as of right now, for this calendar year, it's got to go to the Fraser Minton acquisition.
Yeah.
So, also, we don't know who they end up picking with that first pick from Florida. So,
right, but that pick from Florida though, because it's
a ways away. You know what, Dom? I haven't heard from Kevin in a while.
We haven't seen Kevin,
but now he's making me hungry. So, that one we both agreed on. Whoop. Let's see. Do you want to do most improved next?
Sure.
All right. Who do you have as your most improved over 2025?
This one is pretty easy. It's Morgan Geekie.
Yeah. As I was kind of thinking about that one, I was like, as much as I may want to try and put another name down, I don't know.
I thought about it. I went back and forth, and I was like, nope, it's Morgan Geekie. No one had it on their bingo card that he was going to leave the NHL in the calendar year for goals scored.
Yeah, I mean, it just...
No one had that on their bingo card. Maybe John Sweeney when he saw him in Seattle and made the move for him, you know what I mean? But not one person thought that Morgan Geekie would do what he did over the calendar year.
Yeah, I mean, and the only other people who you can really say showed significant improvement, I mean, I guess you could throw like Jeremy Swayman in there, mostly off ice. You know what I mean? Like personal development.
No, but again, if
going through what he went through with his contract.
I mean, yes and no, because if you look at what he did the year before, he took a nosedive. So you can't really say he's improved. He's back to where he was before he took that nosedive. So that was why I didn't give it to Swayman. That's why I gave it to Geekie. Because
Dom says Geekie or Swayman.
Because Geekie also has worked his way up the lineup and has also played up the lineup, down the lineup over the course of the calendar year. We're not even talking about just, when he first came to Boston. Because when he first came to Boston, he was on the third line with Coyle and Frederick. But last year, when the calendar year turned, that was really when he started to get his groove. He was finding his footing with Marchand before Marchand was injured and then eventually traded. And then he built this great bond with Pasternak.
And Lindholm.
No one saw that coming. No one saw Morgan Geekie as the team's leading goal scorer this year. You know what I mean? Like, who saw that?
The league's leading goal scorer of the year, not just the Bruins. He outscored in goals Connor McDavid, Nikita Kucherov, Leon Draisaitl, all of those names. He outscored.
And I disagree with you. It's not just having Pasta to play with, because he did it when Pasta was injured. He did it with Marchand. He's shown that his confidence has come from himself and not just from the players that he's playing with.
Right. And the fact that he's been able to produce without Pasternak has allowed them to do things like they did last night with the lineup. And now Pasternak can drive a line. Geekie has turned into a line driver.
Yeah.
He drives the line. Now, yes, they like to have pairs, and you want to have Geekie and Pasternak as a pair. But again, if you're going to be, in my opinion, a top 6 goal scorer away from where you need to be, you need to be able to have a little bit. How many times did we talk about having a balanced scoring lineup when our top line was Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak?
Right.
And we talked about needing to spread it out with somebody next to David Krejci on the second line. That's what they're able to do with a guy like Morgan Geekie producing the way that he has shown he can do it.
Right.
Let's keep questioning him and see if he can keep doing it, because that's what's going to keep him doing it.
Right.
But yeah, and as you were talking about with Swayman, can you really credit him for the bounce back if he's the reason for his own tanking?
Correct.
So, like, yes, there is some credit that's there, but a lot of the bounce back, it was Worlds this year. I think that played a huge part of it. And then coming in this year without having all the contract crap going on. But a lot of that stuff was his own creation, because he went on podcasts, talked about wanting to be so highly paid and all those types of things. He put himself in that position.
Well, and he took himself out of camp. He took himself out of camp and put himself behind the 8 ball. But again, that was before the calendar year.
And Tyler says, Jack Hunt on Twitter did a great breakdown of Geekie's performance being mostly driven by Pasta. But any great player who plays with another great player is going to be able to play off of the other person.
That's like saying Marchand was only talented playing next to Bergeron.
Right. Ian says, I would like the Bruins to get Panarin.
I don't want Panarin. Not at his price tag.
Not at what he's making right now. And I don't think you have what it takes to get him out of the Rangers organization. And I'm not sure he's willing to waive his no trade or no move. I think he's got a full no movement clause. I don't think he's willing to waive it to come here anyway. So, but that's the type of top 6 scorer they need, you know? Not that they would give him up. Not that I'd want him either. But if he was available and the Red Wings weren't doing so great, a Patrick Kane type, Artemi Panarin, that's the kind of piece that you're missing right now in your scoring group. Let's see. I think with that most improved being Morgan Geekie, he is also my forward of the year.
Pasternak. I have Pasternak. I look at the assists that Pasternak had last year, given the fact that he was left on an island without any of the other leaders, and he stepped up and became someone not only that could drive the team on the ice, but off the ice as well. And that's why he's my forward of the year.
He's the one who definitely gave me the most pause. I just, when it comes to Pasternak, I think to some degree we all knew he had it in him. It was just a matter of
the leadership aspect of it, because he has said from day one that wasn't a role he ever wanted.
Not wanting the role and not being able to do it, though, are two different things.
No, yes and no. He literally put that team on his back during all of 24-25, and now, you know what I mean? Especially after the calendar year when McAvoy was injured. Hampus Lindholm was injured. Brad Marchand was injured. And then all of a sudden, Marchand gets traded. Coyle gets traded. Like, Elias Lindholm was injured for the first half of the season that no one knew about. Like, I look at the assists, the way he turned around that part of his game. Who had Pastrnak having that many assists? How many assists did he have last year? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'm just not as surprised at David Pastrnak turning into a playmaker as much as he's always been a goal scorer, but we've seen his playmaking ability before. What we did not see before was Geekie being able to score regardless of who he's on the ice with.
Right.
And so being able to take that role and play second fiddle, if you will, to David Pastrnak. We already knew David Pastrnak could lead this team offensively. He's done it for the last however many years. As far as production, as far as being a leader in the locker room, he's been part of that leadership group. He didn't want the C before, but it just...
He didn't, but yes and no. Again, he was with Marchand, he was with Bergeron, he was with David Krejci. So he didn't have to have that. And that's what I'm getting at. Like, he wasn't really a leader in that room because he had other players in front of him that all he had to do was go out there and perform. But last year he was left on an island by himself on and off the ice. And who stepped up to help him? Nikita Zadorov. He didn't have Marchand. He didn't have Bergeron. He didn't have Krejci. He didn't even have McAvoy. Like, because when Marchand was injured, he wasn't at the rink as often. When McAvoy was injured, he wasn't at the rink. Lindholm wasn't at the rink. So he was literally on an island by himself. And if it wasn't for him last year, and I know Geekie, that was in Geekie. No one expected Geekie to score, 40 goals last year?
Whatever it was.
But without Pastrnak dragging them, it would have been a lot worse than it was. And that's why, that's what it is for me. Because if you took Pastrnak out of that lineup, they were San Jose last year.
Yeah, I mean
you could take Morgan Geekie out of the lineup, and things wouldn't have been that different in terms of what Pastrnak did versus what Geekie did in terms of being a leader and being on and off the ice and everything else. That's the only reason why. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just passionately giving my reasons for Pasta.
Yeah, and Pastrnak was my first immediate thought. But like I said, the ability to step up versus wanting to step up and having the opportunity to step up, those are three different things. So maybe he was looking around the locker room, looking at who else is still around, going, I don't want this position because it belongs to them. Now that they're gone, he looks at it, he sees that he's on that island and has an opportunity to take those reins, takes those reins because he has that ability. Like, I'm not surprised by what we've seen from him. I'm not. I'm a hell of a lot more surprised what we've seen from Morgan Geekie over the last calendar year. And the fact that he's remained consistent over the course of a summer, he came back, he still can produce at that level. He's done it now without Pastrnak in the lineup. Those are the things that pushed him over the edge for me. At least in that regard. What about defenseman of the year?
This is where I think you and I are going to have completely different answers.
All right. Who's yours?
Nah, you got to go first once. I mean, I keep going first.
For me, I'm going with Nikita Zadorov.
We have the same person.
It has to be, because it just with McAvoy's injury, I knew as soon as I wrote his name down, I was like, she's gonna kill me because I'm gonna. That's who she wants. Yeah. It's the one that makes the most sense. I don't think people realize even last year.
You can make an argument not only as defenseman of the year, and again, we're talking calendar year 2025, but also most improved. You know, you can make that argument that he was one of the most improved players as well.
I had him on that list, and I'd say probably in my top 3, certainly top 5 on that most improved. The issue I ran into that though is his game started to turn around prior to January 2025. Before the Christmas break in 2024, that's when he really started to turn the corner, settle in. And so looking at it strictly from January until now, that's where I went. It's still got to be geeky. Just because you're not surprised about what Pastrnak has done doesn't mean he isn't their best forward. It shouldn't even be a debate. I didn't say he's not their best forward.
Yes, you did. You gave it to Morgan Geeky. We just went over best forward.
Best forward, most talented is different from the most important of that year.
It's still David Pastrnak. It's not a debate, like Dom says. And I love you, Dom. Dom, it's not that I don't have love for Andrew Peeke. I actually like Andrew Peeke, but Nikita Zadorov to me he's arguably almost their best defenseman again this first half of the season.
Yeah, when Hampus has been down, when McAvoy has been down, he puts that defensive unit on his back.
Well, not only that, but even if you look at the penalty kill in last night's game in overtime, he can't be out there for the full 2 minutes. But when he was on that ice, Calgary was generating nothing.
Yeah, it just, like you said, it's nothing against Andrew Peeke. In fact, we'll talk a little bit more about Andrew Peeke in a minute here. And I don't even know, maybe he's saying it in jest just because of Peake's struggles this year, but
he has the most goals out of any defenseman.
What's that?
He has the most goals out of any defenseman on the team.
I know that's saying something. Offensive juggernaut from the blue line. I don't see how from the blue line it can be anybody other than Zadorov.
Well, and the other thing is too, if it weren't for Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy being injured for majority of the calendar year, it could very well have been one of them. But because they were injured, who are you going to pick? Mason Lohrei?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Andrew Peeke, that would be the other, No.
Oh, I know. Henry Yoki.
Yoki Haru.
Yoki Haru. Oh my God, I couldn't even say his name.
I can't give him that much serious consideration because of how he's played this year. If we were just doing it off of the calendar year through what's that?
I was being sarcastic.
Oh no, I'm just saying though, if we were talking about the end of last year and we weren't considering this year, this season.
Oh, it's still Nikita Zadorov.
I know, but I'm just saying, at least then you have a conversation where you can mention some of those, that kind of thing.
Definitely not Mason Lohrei.
No. So for the next one, this is where I think Andrew Peeke is going to come up a little bit more in conversation. I don't even know if I actually know it. I know who my winner is.
Are we going which category? I think it's our last category, isn't it?
We have 2 more.
We do?
The next one that I was going with was most underappreciated, not the 7th player.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the 7th player.
The most underappreciated.
Mm-hmm. I have a tie.
Well, the one I'm going with is the one that everybody seems to want to ship out of town right now because of his trade value, and that's Pavel Zacha.
Oh, I don't have him.
But I got to tell you, it's not as far off as you would think. I can think of at least 3 other guys that are underappreciated. I'll let you go.
I have Elias Lindholm.
Okay.
And Jeremy Swayman. Because Bruins fans love to hate their goaltenders.
Yeah. Is Swayman as I think he's okay. We can do that one too, Dom. Who's regressed the most? We can come back to that one.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one. I can think on my feet on that one. No, the reason why I say Jeremy Swayman is because whenever he's in net, if they lose, he immediately gets the blame. When he is the only reason why, when they lose, 90% of the time that they're in the game to begin with.
That happens with Korpisalo too.
True, but
and people are they're more desperate to ship him off to anywhere that will take a puck in return.
Because he's a backup. Jeremy Swayman is your number one goaltender, supposed to be your number one goaltender. And he is so underappreciated, number one, because most people say he doesn't deserve his contract. Number two, they're not sold on the fact that even though he has stolen them games, they're few and far between. But he literally has kept this team afloat. We went over this last week when we were talking about high danger chances and whatever, we were talking about all those different stats within the goaltenders. And Jeremy Swayman, like I saw someone say, hold on, I got to find this. I saw someone say,
I think it applies for both goaltenders.
No goalie in the league can maintain a 900 save percentage when the team in front of them completely abandons the slot. That right there, that statement alone is 100% accurate. Not to mention how many times this team has put them shorthanded.
Oh, yeah.
So he's completely underappreciated. And the reason why I say Elias Lindholm is, he's not putting up the numbers that he put up when he had Matthew Tkachuk on one side and Johnny Gaudreau on the other. But he's not a liability. He's your best face-off man. He is arguably, you can tell when he's healthy, he drives that line along with either Pastrnak or Geekie. The three of them play together, but they definitely, people do not appreciate the value that he brings because he's not Patrice Bergeron.
No, no, absolutely. He's certainly on the list as well as one of the most underappreciated.
I want to hear your reasons for Zacha.
First and foremost, starting from the position that everybody wants to trade him. Everybody's so quick to trade him. Mm-hmm. He has played everywhere in your top 9 that you've needed him to play. He has played through more injuries than I'm sure we probably know. He plays on your power play. He plays on the penalty kill. He's one of your best and most important penalty killers. He stabilizes you when you're in 4-on-4, 3-on-3. Like, he's a stabilizing factor. And he has become an important person in that locker room. Mm-hmm. Way more underappreciated in that locker room, or underestimated in that locker room. I think in a lot of ways, people overlook him in the locker room the same way they overlook David Krejci in that locker room. At first. Then it became hold on. What? Then it became very clear how important Krejci was to that locker room. That's why I said at first.
What?
People didn't view Krejci as part of that leadership group right away.
Oh.
And that's the time frame that I'm talking about. Pavel Zacha has become a much more important person to that locker room than people are giving him credit for. And yet people are ready to ship him out of town just because, yes, he's got high trade value. Important players to your team always have high trade value.
But regardless of whether or not he has high trade value, people want to ship him out of town because they don't think he's a top 6 forward.
But he's proven to be one.
Correct. So is Elias Lindholm.
No, oh yeah, for sure. And then also, I will say, given the way that we've had injuries on defense, I don't think people appreciate the position Andrew Peeke has been put in a lot, because he's a third pairing guy. Like, he is a great third pair defenseman. That's what he is. But he has had to play that second pairing right side in so many occasions, and he is playing well. He's batting above his average right now.
Well,
And it's starting to show through.
If you look on that right side, he is your most stable after Zadorov. You know, he's more stable than Lowry.
Oh, yeah.
So I think in reality, because Hampus Lindholm and Brandon Carlo had such great chemistry, that Marco Sturm is hoping that Andrew Peeke and Hampus Lindholm can build that same type of chemistry. And he plays better with Hampus Lindholm than he does with any other defenseman if he's playing up.
If he's playing up, yes.
If he's playing up. Now, the problem is they really wanted Mason Lowry to be that guy.
Yeah.
They really wanted Mason Lowry to either play alongside Charlie McAvoy or Hampus Lindholm. The problem is he is not in your top 4. He can't be.
No, he can't. And I think
you want to talk about who's regressed the most, it's Mason Lowry. For me, it's Mason Lowry.
Yeah, he's definitely on that list. I don't think people appreciate the position as yes, he's struggling. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take away from the struggles of Andrew Peeke, but I don't think people fully appreciate the position that he's in because of the play of Mason Lowry.
You could say that last year about Mason Lowry. In fact, we did talk about that. We talked about the fact that last year he had to play outside his skill set because he, like David Pastrnak, was left on an island with Charlie McAvoy being injured, Hampus Lindholm being injured, and then Brandon Carlo being traded. Who was left? Parker Wotherspoon, Mason Lowry, Nikita Zadorov, who was still learning everything about Boston, and Yoki Haru came in, and who was the other one? I can't
Andrew Peeke.
No, there was someone else. That's only 5. Who's the other one?
Last year?
Who the hell was it?
It was Wotherspoon and now I'm blanking. Now I got to pull up last year's roster.
Yeah. But so, I mean, that's the problem that I have is that I thought for sure that Lowry was going to bounce back this year. He had a horrible start to the season that he got benched, 4 games, 5 games? And the only reason why he came back to the lineup is because of the injuries, because Jordan Harris outplayed him.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm with you. I would say right now, off the top of my head, Mason Lowry is probably the one that's regressed the most, as you mentioned. I don't know. I'd really have to go back in and look and see if there's anyone else who you could really even say that to, other than maybe Andrew Peeke. But even then, I think he's just struggling because of those around him.
Right. And again, like we said, he's still he has the most goals out of all your defensemen. So while he has regressed a little bit, he's still not, he's shown that he can play with Hampus Lindholm, but he's not the first option to play up there. If they're healthy on that back end, and you have Jordan Harris available, if you have even like, I don't even know what's going to happen when Harris comes back and they have Aspero and like all these.
Tom says John Beecher regressed.
Gotta bring the second time John Beecher's been brought up tonight.
He's regressed so much he's not even on the roster anymore.
Well, I mean, that is true.
Yeah.
That is 100% true. And I really thought that Beecher, and I'm yelling and I don't even know why, so I apologize. I really thought that after the end of last season, when he, let out that he was injured, that he had surgery, whatever, that he was going to come in with a bee in a bonnet to prove his naysayers wrong. And he didn't. And even Sturm's quote after he was put on waivers and got plucked up by Calgary, that he was like, I gave him the opportunity. New coach, new system. He never got on the bus. That's no one's fault but Beecher's fault.
Yeah. Everyone got a fresh start. at the beginning of the season, and no one else was able to take advantage, or no one didn't take advantage of it as much as John Beecher.
Right.
And Dom says, and speaking of Chara, I can see the effect he's having on Lorai when I break down his game pre-Chara. So that's one of the things. So Ernie up here asks, why not try Lorai on the wing because he might surprise? First and foremost, you've already moved him. He's already made the transition from wing to defenseman.
You can't put him back.
Well,
I mean, you can put him back.
You can. There's nothing that says you can't. It's just he wasn't good enough at a lower level to stay on the wing. So now all of a sudden he's going to be good enough to stay on the wing in the National Hockey League. Very, very, very unlikely. Yeah. Second of all, he's still trying to learn yet a new defensive system. He's got under 200 games played. He's at 153 or 154, I think, right now for his career. The magic number for most defensemen is between 200 and 250. So he still has a lot that he can learn and get to at a different and go to another level. It's a matter of, does he fit Marco Sturm's system? Can he get there under Marco Sturm? And I do like the fact that, as Dom mentioned, he can now work with Zdeno Chara. Mm-hmm. He can work with Chara. He can work with Adam McQuaid. He can work with, he's got other Bruins former players. And I'm not just talking Chris Kelly, but those two specifically can really help him defensively. Mm-hmm. And so as much as Mason Lorai is a great trade chip right now for you, because there moves a little bit of salary with him. He's got the $3 million cap hit now. I'm not quite ready to give up on him just yet, simply because I want him to have more time working with some of these guys. Let's not forget about how little practice time this team has had so far this season because of the condensed schedule. Mm-hmm. So he's not going to the Olympics. Mason Lorai is not on an Olympic roster. So he's going to have the entire Olympic break where he's going to be able to take some time off, break down film, and I'm guessing he'll probably work with some coaching staff during that time frame, or he'll be given assignments to do while he's on break to work on stuff. So when he's able to get some more coaching, let's see where he comes into play. I don't think it can be underestimated the lack of practice time has on a player like Mason Lorai. They don't have the option to send him to Providence anymore. And I think time in Providence has helped other players like Jonathan Aspero, Victor Soderstrom. They get practice time down there. What did those guys do? They came up and they knew the system already. So they were serviceable, and that's what you needed from them. Mm-hmm. So, although Jonathan Aspero is looking to be a very good acquisition as well. So, the last one we had was the seventh player award as defined by Nesson. Who do you have for that, the seventh player award?
So the seventh player defined is that exceeds expectations. So I have to go with Morgan Geekie. I did not have him on my bingo card to do what he's done in this calendar year.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone who
he I mean, not just it's just I mean, for the fact that he is competing with Nathan McKinnon.
I think the only other person that you could possibly put on that conversation, and we're talking a distant second, would probably be Nikita Zadorov, just because of the way he stepped up for the defense.
But you know what? There was expectations that he was going to come in and be hard to play against, that he was going to be a behemoth on the blue line, that he was going to,
that's what I mean. There was a level of expectation there. I think he's just taking it to another level.
Yeah, the expectation on Zadorov was already there. It's definitely it's geeky. I mean,
don't worry. I didn't say anyone other than geeky.
No one expected geeky to do what he's doing in the calendar year.
No one has. And and people
Now, if we're having this conversation in 2026 for at the end of 2026, he's not going to be your 7th player because now you expect him to perform. So
right now that
it's
expectation,
you know what I mean? But no one expected him to do what he's done this calendar year. No one.
Yeah, I like I said, it would be a distant second, but I think that's the only other person that you can really think about having that conversation about. But like you said, the level of expectation was already there. We knew we had a baseline level of expectation for, for Zaka, for, there was no expectation for Casey Middlestad. So I guess you could make the case that he's outperformed his expectations.
But if you look at the whole calendar year, first of all, he wasn't with the Bruins for the whole calendar year.
That's part of it.
Because the same thing could be said for Fraser Minton, for Husdinov. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't here for the full calendar year. So you're looking at the full calendar year from January till now. There's no one that has exceeded expectations more than Morgan Geekie from January 1st, 2025 to December 30th, 2025.
Yeah, I don't see how the conversation could be had about anybody else.
No.
Really. Beyond that, I think that's the last award we had.
It was.
The only other did you have any other Bruins related specific things that you wanted to go over in today's show?
No.
I know there hasn't been a lot. We've only had 2 games. Obviously we have the game tomorrow, as you said, against Edmonton, and then they turn the page. They still got Vancouver and Seattle. I mean, we'll see if they're able to pull out any points on this road trip between those games. Then they come home for, what is it, 5 straight? 4 or 5 straight. So
yeah. So, but can we talk? I know it's Bruins related, but it's Bruins prospect related. Can we talk about Hagens and Zellers at Worlds right now?
Absolutely. Let's see. But we all know fans, and they don't vote the way that they are supposed to, and will vote Fraser Minton. Oh, for that 7th player.
Well,
possibly.
That award has always bothered me because no one uses it for what it is. It becomes a popularity concept, where, like, no offense, David Pastrnak shouldn't have won the 7th player award. Like, no. Like the 7th player award it's always been about who has gone above and beyond expectations. So, like, a Chris Kelly could have won the award when he was here. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things where you're not going to give the 7th player to David Krejci. You're not going to give the 7th player to Charlie McAvoy. You're not going to give it to my God, Pavel Zacha, like you said. It's a player that exceeds all expectations. And again, when John Sweeney brought in Morgan Geekie, people were like, who the hell is Morgan Geekie? And it wasn't for Brett calling him out on Twitter, we may never have seen the Morgan Geekie that we're seeing now. Because it was right after that tweet that Morgan Geekie went on his tear and has not looked back.
Yeah. It is kind of funny how that timing has gone into effect. But I don't know how else to put it other than it wasn't expected. Like we were hoping to get a 15 to 20 goal scorer for your 3rd line with some physical play. You got a top 6 forward out of the guy.
Right.
Ron Francis had him twice and did not give him a contract. So it just, yeah. Anyway, you were talking about or mentioning James Hagens and Will Zellers at World Juniors.
Yeah.
Was there something specific other than just the way they're playing that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, at this point, you have to wonder what's going to happen at the end of this collegiate year.
Yeah. I think people are finally, Dom and I have talked about the prospects for what, 2-3 years now. I think people are finally starting to pay attention now that there's some higher end talent in the organization.
It's not, no, people are paying attention. The problem is that people had their favorites. People thought, Lysell and McKirloff were getting blocked, that Patra didn't get his fair share, that this, that, the other thing. The problem is like what you and I have talked about ad nauseum is who is Fabian Lysell pushing out of this lineup.
Well,
wait, also, let me go further.
Yeah.
Fabian Lysell is not pushing anyone out of the lineup. If Hagens keeps proving that he can do what he's doing, he's pushing people out of the lineup. There's that difference.
Oh, yeah.
There's that difference. And that's why, so you can talk about Fabian Lysell all you want, but he did not outplay any of the forwards that are currently on this roster to earn a roster spot. This time next year, if Hagens decides to go pro and ends up at training camp, he could make a run for it if he's still doing what he's doing.
Yeah. The question at that point becomes, is he ready to do it at an NHL level? Correct. He's doing it at a collegiate level. He is doing it against the best of his peers. Mm-hmm. The NHL is not his peers. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Nikita Kucherov, Matthew Tkachuk are not James Hagen's peers until he proves he belongs in that group.
No, but Connor Bedard is close to being his peer.
Sure. But he still has to prove he can do it with Bedard.
Celebrini is close to being his peer. So you're talking about a young kid and you're comparing him to the superstars that have been in the league for years and years and years.
If he's in the NHL, that's who he's got to go up against.
No, but I understand that. But if he can compete and play like Malcolm Celebrini, Will Smith, Connor Bedard, those type of young players, then he's going to earn a spot in the NHL.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He has to prove he's in that group.
He doesn't have to be Connor McDavid.
No, he has to prove he can hang with Connor McDavid. He has to prove he can hang with the best in the NHL, who are currently those guys.
Right.
He has to prove
I get what you're saying.
He's at the level.
But when he comes in, he's not going to automatically be on that top line or, defending Connor McDavid. That's going to be up to your veterans to be defending Connor McDavid in the beginning until maybe 2 years into
the guys that you've mentioned, Connor Bedard, Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, Colin Graff, these guys are in the Western Conference playing against Connor McDavid night in and night out.
They've done it. I understand that. But if you look at San Jose, there's no one else.
Right, because
know what I mean?
They haven't been competing. If you look at Boston, it's James Hagens, it's Dean Letourneau, it's the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing because they have Pavel Zacha, they have Morgan Geekie, they have David Pastrnak. It's not the same thing. It's completely different. You have those type of players that you're going to put out against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl instead of Hagens and Zellers. I'm talking about when you're looking at it, it wasn't you're not putting David Pastrnak when you have Brad Marchand against. That's the difference. Boston has the depth to be able to do that, where San Jose doesn't have that depth.
But you still need to know that he can do it, because you're not always going to have that last change when you're not at home.
I understand that, but the point of the matter is, like, David Pastrnak doesn't see the ice on the penalty kill. Doesn't mean that he can't play on the penalty kill. He just doesn't need to. So yes, you may need him for that last change to be on the ice or whatever, but it's still not that's what's going to make or break him. That's not what it is.
It's not going to make or break him by any stretch. But what I'm saying is right now, Hagens is proven against the level he's playing against right now. He needs to prove coming into next season, assuming he turns pro, that he can compete against that next level to stay at that next level. If he's in Providence next year, I'm not complaining about it. I'm really not. I'm okay with him.
But my whole point was that he has a better shot of pushing someone out of the lineup than Fabian Lysell does.
I think there's a lot of people in this point. No, I think there's a lot of people in this organization that have a better shot.
That was my entire point, is that Hagens and even Letourneau have a better chance, and Lach Malice has a better chance of pushing someone out of the lineup than Fabian Lysell does.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. Let's see. It all comes down to one thing. Can James Hagens outscore his mistakes at the NHL? That's it.
I mean, that's pretty much what Cam Neely says. But that's, I mean, no offense, but that's an accurate statement, because how many turnovers does Connor McDavid have? How many turnovers does David Pastrnak have? They outscore their mistakes. They outscore their liabilities. The same thing with any of those elite goal scorers. If they're, you know what I mean? Like,
I know. I know. I'm laughing about it too, because it's true.
But people get pissed because John Sweeney said that, because last year, and I'm talking about the whole season, not just the calendar year, but last season, everyone complained that, you know, Georgi Mikhailov and Fabian Lysell didn't get their shot because they weren't outplaying their mistakes, but the whole team sucked.
Right. So to put it in perspective, last year, Connor McDavid had 74 giveaways. He not only had 32 takeaways, which also helps mitigate the giveaways, but he also had 100 points.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at David Pastrnak, last year, he had 118 giveaways. He had 106 points.
Right.
So not quite 1-to-1 ratio there, but damn close. The year before,
I don't care how many takeaways or giveaways David Pastrnak has. He had 106 points. I'm good with it.
I know. I'm just saying, you know, people's biggest complaint about David Pastrnak is he turns the puck over. Well,
the puck is on his stick and he's carrying it into the zone. What do you expect?
Yeah. So does Connor McDavid. So does Leon Draisaitl. So does, you know, Nikita Kucherov. Like, go look at the giveaway leaders of the past 5 or 6 years. You want every single one of them on your team. Like, if you had a team of those players, you have an all-star team.
Right.
So, no, I do agree, though. I think people are paying attention more to the prospect system now that they're, like you said, people have their favorites. Hagens has clearly become one of them. Dean Letourneau is finally. Remember when people were ready to give up on Letourneau last season? 3 points in 30 whatever games.
Yeah.
Biggest draft bust. Well, now he's the next coming of a top 6 center behind James Hagens. So, you know, it is funny to see how that happens. Do you have anything on the Fleet?
They're in the middle of they lost the other night, so they now have lost 2 games. They still lead the league. Aaron Frankel's still the best goaltender on the planet. They're playing in Detroit, I think, tomorrow.
I thought it was Saturday.
I don't even know. It is Saturday. That's right.
Ian just posted, I just heard the Leafs will be without Nylander, Tanev, Dakota Joshua, and Austin Matthews. Yeah, be glad you're not in Toronto. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny when their general manager says, Mark Savard wasn't the problem, but it had to start somewhere. And then the Leafs do better with their power play, so I don't know.
I did think it was funny, though, that Mark Savard immediately changed his Twitter profile back to him in a Bruins jersey. So, also Ryan Graves is on waivers. Yeah, I think I saw that. I'm not rushing to pick up Ryan Graves off the waiver wire right now. I think you've still got to figure out what you're going to do with Koliatronic.
Right.
Oh, actually, that was one other thing that we didn't touch on. Callahan and was it Blumel? Both came off of IR, were immediately sent down. Which we said 2 weeks ago was just a matter of them doing the transaction when they were healthy.
Right.
But that they're officially off the NHL roster. Harris has been skating. I believe Yoki Haru was also skating as well. Do you know if either one of them went on the trip?
Who, Blumel or?
No, Yoki Haru or Harris?
They have I have not seen that they've been on the ice on the trip. So, hold on, let me look.
So my guess is if they didn't go on the trip, then they're probably not looking at either one to return until that first full week of January on that home stretch.
Right. Tanner Jeannot's on the ice, but he was on a non-contact jersey. Let's see.
I would not be surprised if Jeannot ends up on IR when either Yoki Haru or Harris are ready to come off.
Yeah, no, I mean, no one's posting anything about.
That's what I'm not sure of, Dom. I don't. I thought I remember seeing something that they were on the trip, but I haven't been able to confirm, so I wasn't totally sure. I was hoping someone could confirm it.
I haven't, to be honest with you. I haven't. Oh, excuse me.
The holidays have really just kind of thrown everything into a blender all around. So, but let me just
hold on.
I don't hate seeing Aspero on the right side next to Hampus. I've liked what I've seen with that pairing.
Yoki Haru is also on the trip and practiced on Sunday. That's it. It's just Yoki Haru, according to.
Okay. Yeah. So
according to Bell, the team reporter.
It'll be interesting to see how he does when he comes back from injury.
Yeah, there's nothing else about.
I'm not saying he deserves any benefit of the doubt, but based on injuries that have plagued this back end all season long, would it surprise you to find out that whatever Yoki Haru, whatever landed him on IR now, has been bothering him for a lot longer than he's been on IR for?
Probably.
And now that they've had the holiday break, like, I mean, Dom can definitely attest to it better, but I can't imagine they look at certain injuries, if a player can play through them and say, if we time it during this time, he misses fewer games because of this break and that break and, you know, that kind of thing. Obviously, it's a little harder to do in a month of January than it would be in December, but I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with January, though, is they still have 15 games in January.
Yeah, no, January is a swamped month for them. But that's why, like, if you look at the schedule...
They have 18 games until the break.
Yikes. But with so few days off, every Thursday game in January is a home game. That's funny. No, but get a guy like Yogi Haru the rest now.
They have 2 road... After the first of the year, they have 2 road games on Thursdays. 2. That's it. Nashville and Florida. That's it.
Those are both in February, right?
No. One's in March and one's in April. They have in February they only play like 2 games.
March. Yeah. February they have one Thursday game at home, and then they have the neutral site stadium series game, quote unquote neutral site. And then the away against Florida on that same road trip that Wednesday.
Right.
And then they play on the 20th. So February is going to be an interesting week. I'm sure we'll have some stuff going on those weeks though, with the Olympics going on.
Yeah.
But we got to get through January. January is going to be a very interesting month. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 road games all month.
Yeah.
So, and if it helps, right now you've got the first period rounding out with Montreal and Florida tied scoreless. So, if we can get a little help from the rest of the Atlantic, that would be beneficial. But both, I mean, the Atlantic's just super, super tight race anyway. So do you have any other final thoughts before we let the folks go? I know we're running a little less than our normal 90 minutes, but they've only played 2 games.
Not a bad thing, though.
I was going to say that they've only played 2 games, too. So, David has a good question. Because of the condensed schedule due to the Olympic break, are NHL fans seeing watered down season?
I don't think so.
I'm curious what you would deem as a watered down season. I think you're seeing injuries come up a little bit more because of the condensed schedule. Bodies aren't able to recover as much as they normally would. And some of that, like, you look at a guy like Connor Hellebuck. I think he got his surgery when he did so that he could be back for the Olympics. But some of it, I mean, Matt Tkachuk, that injury was going to happen. You know, the recovery time is the recovery time. It has nothing to do with the Olympics. He's going to try to get back for the Olympics. I think he gets back for the Winter Classic. I think that's the game that he's going to be back for. That it fits a timeline. It fits marketing, it fits what he would do and all that stuff. I just think that you're seeing injuries get resolved like a little quicker, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know if it's I don't know.
He says, yeah, injuries, key guys pacing themselves, etc. I don't see the best of the best pacing themselves. They're all in all the time. Look at Gavin McKenna. Yeah, he's been fun to watch at World Juniors. But Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid. Like, do you think these guys are pacing themselves?
No.
Leon Draisaitl, like, no, they're going to go out. Cale Makar, these guys aren't pacing themselves. They're just doing what they always do. And it's going to be great to see some of the guys who need the Olympic break, who aren't on the roster, get the rest that they need. So for a team like Boston, Mark Kastelic, he's going to get some 2 weeks of rest in the middle of the season. Tanner Jeannot, Sean Corrali, like, those guys are going to need it. Even Fraser Minton can use that rest. I know he's significantly younger, but Boston is the type of team that can benefit from that because they are only going to have, like, Jeremy Swayman, he's going to go. He might not even play. He'll get some practice time in. Fine.
You know, I mean, after his performance in Worlds, you don't think that he's not going to see the ice for the Olympics?
I said he might not play. I don't know. We'll see. Honestly, if I'm the U.S., the guy I'm looking at leaving at home is Jake Ottinger. I'd rather bring Spencer Knight right now. But that's beside the point. Even if he plays one game, though, that's fine. They're riding Connor Hellebuck. That's what the U.S. is going to do. But they got Swayman going. They've got David Pastrnak going. Is there anybody else on the roster that I'm not thinking of who's like
McAvoy.
definitive? McAvoy, thank you.
Hampus Lindholm, Elias Lindholm.
The Lindholms. But I honestly, though, I think both Lindholms could use the Olympics to their advantage by playing in them. I think we saw that a little bit with Elias last year when he went and played in the Four Nations. I think that actually helped his game. But yeah, don't call it Dom if Dom's not on it. I'm confused by that. Anyway, I think that's all I got.
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in.
Yes, David. Both Hampus Lindholm would have been on Worlds if he was not injured, and Elias Lindholm led them in scoring last year in Worlds. So they're both definitely going to the Olympic roster.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got some big stuff coming in 2026.
Yes. Not ready to announce it yet, though.
No, but stay tuned for sure. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Dom, hopefully everybody's doing well on your end. And we will be back next week on Wednesday.
Normal time,
normal day, 6:30 on Wednesday.
Yeah.
In the meantime, go Bees.